Rapid Solicitors, sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports. Accident compensation and medical negligence claims.
And welcome to the Rapid Solicitors Elite Ice Hockey League highlight show here on Sky Sports. Well, with Team GB away in Latvia, all eyes were on the Gardner Conference, and folks, they didn't let us down. Here's what we've got coming up this week. There's turmoil for the Cardiff Devils. The Stars and the Stingrays, well, they tally up 21 goals in a feisty doubleheader home weekend. And the Coventry Blaze, they shut out the Braehead Clan at the Sky Dome Arena. Hello folks, welcome to the show. I've got good news and I've got bad news for you. The bad news is I've got man flu. The good news is that means less of me and more of my guest Paul Thompson, head coach of the Coventry Blaze. Plenty for us to discuss. Team GB, the Gregory Stewart suspension, and of course this incredible Gardner Conference that has just gelled together so much. First question though on the Coventry Blaze. A good win at the weekend. We'll see the highlights of that coming up. But also, the Coventry Blaze getting players back into lineup. How good was it to get Shay Guthrie firing on all cylinders again?
Great. You know, he's our dynamo. He's our offensive dynamo, David. And for the last 6 weeks, he hasn't been right. He missed 2 or 3 weeks. He played injured because we were short at the time. And I'm kind of sick of talking about us being short all the time. You know, we just got to get our heads down and get on with it. But when you lose your key offensive guys, but we've added Henrik into the lineup, who's 9 points in 5 games, and he's scoring big goals for us, and getting our captain back as. Hopefully going to finish, we're going to finish the regular season in a strong position as long as we can, stay healthy.
Was the pressure to bring Guthrie back so much that you actually brought him back too soon, and then you had to take the decision, look, we're just better off without him for 10, 14 days, get him right and then get him back properly fit?
100%. Shay's a great player, great leader for us, and his speed's his asset. And, when he's skating at D, he backs them off, and he couldn't do that with the injury he had. So I took the decision that enough is enough. Let's rest him up, let's get his physio for a good 10, 12 days, and let's get him back firing, and this weekend showed that.
Before we have any action from the weekend's games, you may well have seen on last week's show the highlights of the game in the Big Blue Tent between the Cardiff Devils and the Belfast Giants. You'll recall it's the game where the Giants were 3-0 down and came back to win it 4-3, a huge win for Doug Christiansen's team. However, what happened in the following week has kind of carried on throughout the last 7 days, and it has been a 9-game suspension against the Belfast Giants forward Greg Stewart, 3 for a hit to the head, 3 for a knee incident with Matt Faulkner, and then an additional 3 games because of the other 2-3 games in the same game, if you get my drift. And for one player to get 9 games in the Elite League this season seems a complete turnaround for the disciplinary committee. They've got very tough on Greg Stewart, haven't they?
Well, I think, with this supplementary discipline, I don't know. I think the league need to look at this, because I just think everybody, every week, me included, we're all looking to get players suspended. And maybe it's the fact that these things are getting missed in the first case that we feel that we have to go back to it. But, I've just looked at the incidents with you for the first time, and 9 games is, he's a big player for the Belfast Giants. 9 games suspension for a player that, is hopefully going to look to help them, retain that league title. It's a big blow for the Belfast Giants, without a doubt. Let's
see the incident. We've got one of the 2 incidents. Unfortunately, we haven't got the knee on knee, but we do have the hit to the head. It was a rough game. We'll start off with that, wasn't it, to start off with? Our old mucker, Jared Adams, is involved, and Stewart seemed to be involved in everything in this game, didn't he?
Well, we've seen a few highlights before. Stewart's a hard-nosed player. He's a good player offensively. He makes things tick for them, and he plays a hard-nosed game. And he takes a slash, I think it is on Richardson there, and that's the way he plays. He plays on the edge, and Jared's took exception to that, and he's standing up, He's no warrior, isn't he, old Adams? Standing up there and doing what he does for his team week in, week out.
I think that's why we all love Jared, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, he's a proper hockey man.
Well, his night wasn't over with old Gregory Stewart's, because then this happened, and you'll see a sandwich. Mark Smith in the middle of the Adam Keith Gregory Stewart. Now watch brother Kenton come along. Big slash. No penalty on that big slash.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've looked at it a couple of times. We'll see it a little bit in slow-mo here after this Melly's finish. And I don't know if he just slashes the eyes because Stewart picks his feet up. But you can see Smith's facing into the board. And as he's going down, Stewart's kind of forearm hits Smith in kind of the back of the neck area, which obviously they've looked at and deemed it to be a hit to the head. And his brother Kenton takes exception to that.
Was Kenton lucky not to get a major?
Well, you know, going by what I've seen this year, 5 in a game would probably be the maximum call that would be. If it did make any contact at all, I don't know. You can't see by them pictures.
Now, we've just spoken to Doug Christiansen just 15 minutes before going on air. He's confirmed the Belfast Giants are appealing. They can't appeal the hit to the head. They can't appeal the hit to Faulkner, which has actually ended Faulkner's season. He's out for the year, which is terrible news for the Cardiff Devils, and we wish Faulkner all the very best.
It's devastating news because he could have been the league MVP this year.
Without a shadow of a doubt. But they can appeal the third batch of 3 games. Do you think they'll be successful in that?
Well, I don't know. There's a disciplinary committee, apparently, that look and you know, the minimum tariffs for each of these hit to the head and the knee on knee or whatever is 3 games each, and then they can add to that if they think, you know, the severity is at a level. I don't know where they get the severity from, past history. I don't know. There's a committee that sit down and add these games on to the tariffs, and they feel 3 more games needed to be added to the 6 mandatory, and you know, and Doug and the Belfast Giants will be appealing against the 3.
Okay, now one of the reasons why we're going to concentrate on the Gardner Conference was Team GB. They were away at Latvia, the final round of the Olympic pre-qualification tournament. 3 very tough games for Team GB, of course, who used to be coached by Paul Thompson. First of all was Latvia, then was France, then was Kazakhstan. GB got off to a poor start against the Latvians, the favourites, a Paul A nation, going down 6-2. They were then 3-0 down against the French. But then this happened.
44 seconds to go. Saric, O'Connor, great opportunity, down, the puck is there, Peacock, it's a goal, Craig Peacock, power play goal, GB's back in it.
And Dowd and Peacock go to work and they dig that loose puck out.
Clark does well to tip it in. Little cycle there from Lakovic to Myers. They've been very effective together. Clark joins Myers. Myers out in front. Lakovic scores! The birthday boy! 3-2!
But unfortunately, that was as good as it got for GB, going down 4-2 against the French and then a thumping 6-0 against Kazakhstan in Game 3. They were all Paul A nations. It was a very, very tough tournament. What do you think GB will get out of that ahead of going to the World Championships in Hungary in April?
Well, hopefully experience from the coaching point of view. You know, the players have been around the circuit, if you like, more than the coaches. And the coaches, I mean, it was a tough group. You know, and you're without Murphy, the #1 netminder in the UK.
And Weaver.
And Jonathan Weaver, you know, the #1 defenseman and a guy that makes you tick on the power play. But I just felt the France game was there. I thought we took some unnecessary penalties during the tournament, behind the play, in the offensive zone. The PK wasn't very good. You know, it's as simple as that. It wasn't very good. And that might have been, a lot of that was because they're playing up teams that are a notch above what we're used to being playing. But I felt once we got back to our game against the French, and we got on the forecheck and we started, and you see the goals, you know, that came from getting pucks to the net and cycles and working down low. I felt we played a great third period, and it's a shame that we didn't play that for the 3 periods against France, because I think we're every bit as good as them.
A hell of a World Championship group in Hungary and Budapest in April. Hungary, Italy, Japan, Korea and Kazakhstan, and a chance to either get promoted or relegated. That group's so close, isn't it?
No, David. I think we can get promoted, without a doubt.
Is it a group where it's as easy to get promoted as it is to get relegated, with all those teams so close together? All teams are going to take points off each other, where perhaps in previous World Championships there's been a dominant factor, a dominant team that would walk through it.
Yeah, there normally has been a #1 team, but only 1 got promoted in the past, where now I think it's easier because 2 get promoted. Teams take points off each other now. And, you know, if you win the big games, you have a chance to get through. And I think this group is as good as any group with the team that we have together right now to get us to Pool A. I really do believe that.
Well, wouldn't that be good? Pool A for GB. Well, they have a chance, as Paul Thompson says. And we wish Tony Hand, Doug Christensen and all the team the very best of luck in Budapest in April. Time now, though, for Elite League action. We'll head up north to Braehead, where they were taking on the Edinburgh Capitals. Chris Ellis will talk us through this one.
After a change in coach had brought some good form for Braehead, things are beginning to go the other way for them. But here, a good piece of skill from Burnstill. Really good, setting up Walker. A 4th goal of the season for Walker. 6:55 gone. And Braehead felt that a good performance was on its way. But Edinburgh came back into the game, and they came forward right-hand side, Liam Webber and Hartman. They set up Patrick through the 5-hole, a 5th of the year for him. And the game was level at 1-1. That was the scoreline at the end of the first period, so we went to period 2. Early stages as well, only 1:45 gone. Hay and Nicholson with the assist, Benedict scoring. It's 2-1 to the visitors, and the home side fans were rather stunned with proceedings. Still in period 2, we're now past the midway point in the game, and it is the Braehead clan coming forward, looking to make a mark once more on the game. They had 34 chances on net, and they were denied there. Only 28 for the Caps, but chances did not equate to goals, because look at the other end. Brilliant move, Liam Webber's backhand pass, and Yarrelin, 26th of the year, 33-43, 3-1 Edinburgh, and they have a 2-goal advantage. Then in the third period, no real spark from the clan, only 8 shots on goal, and there was 9 for Edinburgh. One end of the ice to the other, the men setting up the play, Patrick and Hay, and single scores of 14th of the year. Braehead 1, Edinburgh 4.
They're hot right now, are the Edinburgh Capitals, and on the flip side of that, the Braehead clan are shiveringly cold, aren't they? They've hit a real wobble patch after Paul Gardner came in. He seemed to bring some stability. They won a load of games, but now they can't buy a win.
But I think that can happen. I mean, that conference is so tight right now, and every team's taking points off each other. I think there's only 2 points that separate, 1 to 5, top to bottom. I mean, which is a phenomenal thing the league's done. It really has, because it just brings everybody together there. And you got to give it the Edinburgh Capitals. They won't go away, and they're making a bit of a charge.
They seem to own the Braehead clan as well. Every time they play, most games go Edinburgh's way. What is it they do well that Braehead can't cope with?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't see a lot of them, and I don't see the games between them. But they're a very skilled team, Edinburgh. They're a European-based team. They brought a couple of Canadians in, didn't they, about 6 weeks ago, that have really kind of given that depth that they lacked before that. And I think they play very well on their own ice, on the big pads. They know how to play it. They're a puck possession team. It's a different style to our conference. It's a totally different style, but it's working for them. Scott
Neal said to me today, as I was driving up here, that one of the big differences with the conference is they're a Sunday home team, and they're not getting home in bed at 5 a.m. in the morning. The travel is a lot less. They're only playing Dundee or Fife on a Saturday instead of playing Cardiff or Coventry or Nottingham on a Saturday. That was something I hadn't thought about before. But it says he's got more jump, more spark because of that comes Sunday home games.
I've never seen Scott with any jump or spark. But you're absolutely right. And one of the big reasons for the conferences was that, last year I think we had 12, 14 trips up to Scotland. And I know, we're a Sunday home team. We'd play on a Saturday and we'd come back at 6, 7 in the morning. And it's tough, and it grinds you down. But what's going on in that conference right now is very, very exciting for everybody.
OK, time for a break now. When we come back, we're going to Kirkcaldy, where the Fife Flyers were taking on the Cardiff Devils. Don't go anywhere.
Sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports. Sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports.
Welcome back to the Rapid Solicitors Elite Ice Hockey League highlight show here on Sky Sports. Up to Kirkcaldy then, where the Five Flyers were taking on the Cardiff Devils. Now with GB away, that meant a Cardiff Devils team without Phil Hill, without Mark Richardson, and now, following that injury, following the Greg Stewart suspension, no Mac Faulkner. It was always going to be a tough task for Gerard Adams' side. Let's see how they got on.
There was a terrific start to this game for the home side. Just 31 seconds on the clock, people were still taking to their seats, and assisted by Chamont and Haynes, Pitton scoring his 19th goal of the season. That was a very early goal. This goal was early too, only 5 minutes and 3 seconds gone. A power play for the visitors. Smith and Gimblett combining this time, and Josh Batch scoring goals at the moment, getting his 6th of the season there. 5:03 on the clock, it was 1-1. Still in the first period, another power play here, and this time Haynes scoring his 18th goal of the season. Flyers were patient on that power play, and they had a 2-1 first period lead. They had another power play at the start of the second period, and this time Haynes and Keller were the players that were creating in the corner, and it came nicely to the left circle, and the shot there by Chamont, 23rd of the year for him, and suddenly a 2-goal advantage for the Five Flyers. Now, due to injury to Brian Pitton, a change in net for the Flyers, and Blair Daly went into net. This was at the start of the second period, when he let his first goal in when Beerbreyer scored short-handed, an 11th goal of the season. That made it a 1-goal game. All sorts now going on in front of the net, and just busy, weren't they, the Cardiff Devils? And Marsh there getting his 5th goal of the season to level the game up at 3-3 early in period 3. But back came the home side with the clock running out. 56:06 Carriview, a 5th of the year, and the Flyers probably think they're on the way to victory. But a minute and a half later, the Devils managed to tie things up. Doesn't score many goals. Gerard Adams, his 2nd of the season, levels things up at 4-4. It means we're going to a penalty shootout. To shoot first, Chris Blight of the Devils, denied there by Daly. So Jason Pitton, he can't score either. Max Beerbreyer has a chance to get the first goal on the board in the shootout. Yes, he does. 1-0 Cardiff. Bobby Chamont at the other end manages to score 2. So that makes the game 1-1 in the shootout. Stuart McRae can really put the pressure on. He's denied. So Chris Hogg can win it for the Flyers and get the extra point. Well, he can't, so we're going to sudden death. Can Blight score? Couldn't first time. He's denied on the backhand move. But Jason Pitton scores. 5-5, Cardiff 4.
Big win for the Five Flyers. Tip your hat as well to Blair Daly, who took over the goaltending duties halfway through that game. And a huge win for the Five Flyers, an inter-conference win. But then again, would Gerard Adams be happy, 3 players down, picking the points up in Kirkcaldy? Tough place to go.
I don't think you're ever happy to lose a game, but you've got 3 influential players missing out your lineup, and you're going all the way up there. It's a long trip
for Cardiff.
For Cardiff,
yeah.
And to come back with a point, there'll have been some satisfaction in that.
But the Five Flyers, the reason that Gardner Conference is so tight is because they've now started picking points up, especially in the home rink against the inter-conference teams.
Well, yeah, I mean, they started very well, didn't they, at the start of the year? Then they had a little blip, and they've got injuries now, but they're finding ways to win. And I think they've got 5 or 6 guys. Their power play is as good as anything in the league, especially up at home. They've got good puck possession guys. They move the puck really well. And
everybody's talking about that Haynes, aren't they? They all think he's the real deal. Is he?
Well, I think he's a very, very good player, and he's been a great pickup for the Five Flyers.
Okay, let's have a look at some of the highlights from that. Our old mucker, Gerard Adams. 2nd time of the night. He's had a fight in the first game, and he scores a very important game-tying goal.
Yeah, he just creeps in from the point, one-timer, shell. Does that every week, Gerard.
Into the penalty shootout.
Low blocker. It's a great shot by Bevet.
Big Max. Nice finish as well.
Not too many deeks, are there? I mean, normally on good ice.
Is that because the ice is
No, it's normally good ice in 5. There's a 5-hole goal, and the game winner.
Yeah, Pitton did a good job. He's been a good signing for them as well, hasn't he? He scored some big, crucial, important, and in that case, game-winning goals.
Well, he seems to. Every time I come on the show, he's scoring that penalty shot winner to get the extra point. That's a massive part of the game now, David.
Yeah.
You've got to employ these guys that can do that because there's so many tight games in all conferences that extra point can be the difference.
He has a bit of a swagger about him, Pitton, as well, doesn't he? A bit of a wry smile, you just said to me, but he has something about him. You walk into the bar afterwards and Pitton's there, and he carries some presence, and they love their heroes in Fife, and he might just be one of those going forward.
Great player for the league, great player for Fife, and we need more players like that.
Good. Right, Hull Stingrays at the bottom of the league had to beat the Dundee Stars. Overtime, not important, just had to be a regulation win. Had to win Sylvain Cloutier. Did he?
The first of two back-to-back matches between these two sides this weekend, and I can tell you there's plenty of thrilling action to come. First period action for the Hull Stingrays, and they're on the power play here. Dooley and Rodine just move the puck around, and it comes out to Silverthorne to score his 15th goal of the season. 1-0 at 7:20 to the Hull Stingrays. And now Dundee coming forward, but it's given away by Krantz right onto the stick of Tendler. You don't give a man like that more than half a chance. A 37th goal of the season. Hull Stingrays 2, Dundee Stars 0. And that was the score at the end of the first period. It's period 2, and Davies and Cloutier, well, they're the players who get the assists on this one. 26:40, the time of the goal. Once again, Dundee a bit sloppy in defence, and Osman coming in there at the back door, and 19th of the season, 3-0 to the Hull Stingrays. And 54 seconds later, Davies involved once more, Lovedoor with the other assist, and Osman scores again. The second of the game then, number 20 of the season. 27:34 gone. You see on the replay, he scores once more to make it 4-0 to the Hull Stingrays, and Dundee really up against things. Still time for another goal, just past the midway point of the game. Lovedoor and Smith this time. They're the men who get the assists on goal number 5. It's well worked once more, and right in the slot there is Squires, and he gets his 6th goal of the season. So that's 5-0 and very much game over, and the points are going the way of the Hull Stingrays. But there was a little bit of joy for the visitors. Ryan and Bowen get the assists for this one from McLean, a 13th goal of the season to break the shutout. Hull 5, Dundee 1.
Attaboy Cloots, the Hull Stingrays then beating the Dundee Stars. So important in the conference, so important for playoffs. We'll talk more about playoffs shortly, and so important in their league position to give them some hope. It was a must-win. They won it, and they did very well.
Well, it's a big answer back for Klutz, and his team. We went up there the week before, and we had quite a convincing 7-2 win. And I know he was upset with his team's performance on the night, and then to come back and take a 5-0 lead and win the game 5-1 is a big answer.
They've got Tendler's goals. He's scored 150 already this season. They've got Silverthorne who's scoring. I've just seen there Chris Osman got his 20th of the year. They're scoring goals. Why are they losing so many games?
Well, I think it's still tight. I think it's so tight down there, David, that, in any one point in the season, you can go and lose 4 or 5 on the bounce. It's how you then pick yourself back up. And, that's a big convincing home win to get back on the trail. I mean, and that conference is far from over. Yeah. I'm telling you, far from over. OK,
let's see goals 19 and 20 from Dominic Osman. Talk us through these two.
Nice little passage of play. Comes off a stick. Osman follows up. Davies involved again.
50 seconds later.
Davies pulls a great move. He embarrasses the Dundee defenseman there and makes a play. Guys go to the net. If you go to that net and you go to them hard areas, you get your rewards. And guys like Osman do that. OK. Right, time for a break now. When we come back, we'll go and see how Paul got on at the weekend. His Coventry Blaze side had just the one game. It was a home game at the Skydome Arena against the Bray Clan. You don't want to miss it. Don't go anywhere.
Sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports. Sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports.
Welcome back to the Rapid Solicitors Elite Ice Hockey League highlight show here on Sky Sports. More hockey action for you now then as we head up to the Skydome Arena. The Coventry Blaze were taking on the Braehead Clan. Now, if you've watched the show week in, week out, you'll know everything about the Coventry Blaze. Most penalised team in the league, biggest dog in the porch, that's Ben Olsen. Just a team of bullies. You'll recognise them. They're the ones wearing pink, showing their feminine side.
It was an explosive start to the first period for the Blaze. They had 25 shots on goal. Here's a couple of chances. First of all, Chalmers from right point, and then the rebound there from Greg Lieb. And Coventry certainly were knocking on the door in the early stages. Though they had to wait until the midway point of the first period to get their first goal. First of all, Krestanovic shoots wide for the visitors. And then they're back in their own end with Hampson. But he comes forward and gives it away. It's stolen by new boy Hendrick, and he scores his 4th goal of the season. He already seems a crowd favourite at the Skydome, and at 9:45 in period 1, the Coventry Blaze lead by 1-0. Into the second period then, and this was just strong work by the Blaze, first of all on the left side, then behind the net, and also on the right-hand side. They just outworked the visitors, and the assist went to Cameron and Griffin, and right on the doorstep was Guthrie, scores on his comeback from injury. What a return for him, delight for the Blaze fans, and it was 2-0 to Coventry in the second period. The fans at the Skydome thought it was 3-0, but they had to sit down and not celebrate this one. Referee Michael Hicks saying that one was high stick, right in the good position there to see that that was no goal. So that kept things at 2-0 to the Coventry Blaze. And then they went looking for their 3rd goal, this time Hendrick finding Bradley, but that eventually was a save. So one of 49 shots on goal for the home side. In fact, the visitors had 32, and it was Hirsch on his way to a shutout. Great save there to deny Goldie. Final score, Coventry 2, Braehead 0.
Congratulations to Peter Hurt and the Coventry Blaze. Good to get back-to-back victories.
Yeah, it's been a while,
yeah.
in all honesty, and it's put a smile on our faces, and practice has been a lot more upbeat because, winning makes everything tick, doesn't it? And like I said, the new boys come in, and he's been a big presence for us, making plays. He makes people better around him. It's not just his goal-scoring ability. He brings others into the game. And then we got our skipper back, like we said earlier in the programme, and he scored a great goal in the low slot area.
Tell us about Henrik. Last week's show, I mentioned it to Rick Strachan. All the big clubs had chances to sign him in the summer, you included. How did you end up getting him so late, so close to deadline date, especially when there are so few players available on the market right now?
I kept the dialogue with him. I mean, my wife's happy because I was basically speaking to him more in Cyprus on my holidays this summer than I was the wife. And we thought we had him at that point. We signed Shoot, and we thought we'd got Henrik as well, but it wasn't to be. We kept the dialogue going all over the winter. He was over in Germany, and I wanted to bring somebody in for the stretch to add that offense that I think we badly need, and we managed to get him, and he's been a big hit, and he's a good guy. He's settled in, he's enjoying his time here. And he's scoring goals. Let's see it right now, a replay of both your goals. Yeah, the puck gets turned over there. He turns it over, and you see he's a big man, big long reach. And he's very, very cool and calm and collected around the net. This wasn't a bad finish either, was it, by your skipper? No. He gets tripped, and as he's going down, he bats the thing through, and that gives us that 2-goal cushion. And what I liked about our team on the night is, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've been 2 to 3 goals up in 5 out of 8 or 9 matches, only to cave in. So at the 30-minute mark, to hold on to that 2-0 lead and comfortably close out the Braehead Clan was a pleasing aspect from my point of view. Okay. Let's go up to Dundee. Now, you'll recall from a previous moment, the Hull Stingrays had to beat the Dundee Stars in Hull on Saturday. They did, 5-1. On Sunday, they flipped it around, and off to Dundee they went. Could Sylvain Cloutier's team make it 4 points out of 4? Sit back and enjoy. There's a fair few goals in this one.
Sit back now and enjoy 15 goals. They just keep on coming. The first of the night went to the Hull Stingrays. Silverthorne, a 16th of the year in the high slot. 11 minutes and 7 seconds gone in the game. But Dundee came back on the power play 3 minutes later. Wirral and Baxter combining for Ryanen, right-hand side, to level the scores at 1-1. Dundee was celebrating again at 17-10. Ozolins, of course, playing against his former club, putting the home side into a 2-1 lead. Things got even better then just 29 seconds later. It was goals galore, this time on the rebound in front of the net. Baxter scoring his 9th goal of the season. So it was a 3-1 first period lead for the Dundee Stars. Could things improve even further for them? Well, there was a real tussle in front of the net. It started off quite calm, but then things got explosive. You see there Tristan Harper get involved. Well, this incident earned himself a match penalty from referee Neil Wilson. So he was to miss the midweek game for the Dundee Stars. It just kept on going. You also see another man permanently involved there. That's Lovedoll. He got a game misconduct, but you see there that Harper went back to start that one again. It eventually was broken up, but there was all sorts of little tussles going on the ice, but that one between Lovedoll and Harper was obviously the most serious. Then things got better for the Hull Stingrays. They took advantage on a power play. Osman and Squires there with the assist, and Andre closed the game to 3-2. There was no further scoring till the second half of the second period. Osman with the pass, Cloutier, the player coach, levelling the score up at 3-3. And then Silverthorne breaking free, 4-3, just 40 seconds later. So the Stingrays were now in front in the game. But never fear, a minute and 13 seconds to go in the second period. It was a good move by Dundee, and Bagran getting his 14th of the season. Are you keeping up? It's 4-4. There was still time for a 5th goal for the Dundee Stars in the second period, and that one came less than 20 seconds later. Wirral there, so that was 5-4. Into period 3, a 1-goal game. Which way would it swing? Well, Squires getting the tip on that one. It was 5-5. It was a 10-goal thriller at this stage. Back to the other end, and the Dundee Stars just getting some more pressure on the Hull Stingrays. Well worked here on the power play. The Stars are patient, and Bowen from the blue line, he makes it 6-5. And suddenly the Dundee Stars have the advantage once more. There was breathing space for them, because just 15 seconds later, Ozolins cut inside from the right. 7-5 at 48-49. Surely that meant it was game over. But don't doubt the Stingrays. This was less than a minute later. A dump and chase works, and Osman scores a 21st of the season. It's a 1-goal game once more. And then at 50-52, Dooley from the blue line on left side. It is 7-7, and that meant overtime. Who was to get the extra point? Well, Baxter's blast from the left side meant it finished Dundee 8, Hull 7.
What a fantastic job then by the Dundee Stars, a 15-goal thriller, and every single fan in that building must have gone home completely entertained. They certainly got the money's worth. 15
goals, and Tendler wasn't one of them, which is tells you what a thriller.
You'd have got good odds for that, wouldn't you?
Oh, big odds.
Big odds for that. Hey, you can have 2-1 games that are edge of your seat, really exciting, and sometimes in these leagues you just can get a blowout, or you can get a high-scoring game, and that conference seems to give you a fair few more goals. And like I say, the Dundee fans, every penny of their admission money was well earned.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in the NHL, where teams have big scoring games. It happens, and it's entertaining. I mean, from a coaching perspective, I think we'd all look at that and think, oh, crikey, we could have cut out 4 or 5 on either side. But that's hockey. That's what it's about. We're in the entertainment business, and that was an entertaining game.
And Dundee win at home again, and they keep finding a way to win at home again. I know Hull will take that point. It could well be a very valuable point, but Dundee, that's why they're top of their conference right now, because of their home form.
Yeah. And we've been saying that all year, haven't we? I mean, they've had great home form.
Yeah, there's an interesting little incident in the second period. We'll take a look at that. I'd like to know how Lovedoll got a game misconduct for it, but we'll see. We'll see a nice little scrap between Lovedale and Harper.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened prior to that, but it's. I think Harper was looking for it, and then he comes back into the play again.
Lovedale hasn't got an option. He has to fight back there, doesn't he?
Well, previously you saw a fight, didn't you, in the Cardiff game where they both got 2 minutes roughing, and this time both of them get thrown out of the game, and that's a big overtime winner. That's a big goal.
Yeah. Interesting stuff there then, and a valuable 2 points, and we'll show you the relevance of that later on in the show. Time for a break now, the remaining games around the Elite League when we come back, and a look at how the playoffs could possibly stand if the league stops right now. Don't go anywhere.
Sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports. Sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports.
Welcome back to the Rapid Solicitors Elite Ice Hockey League highlight show here on Sky Sports. Our final game of the weekend is a cracker from Murrayfield. The Edinburgh Capitals taking on the Five Flyers. Five, a team so dominant at home, and Edinburgh, well, they're just a team who are dominant at the moment. They're winning at home and on the road. They're the form team in the Gardner Conference. Let's see how this one went.
With the Gardner Conference getting ever tighter and, of course, the race for the playoffs drawing ever closer, this was another vital Scottish derby, and Edinburgh against Fife is always a big game. The first goal of the night went to the home side. It was just over the line, it seemed. Haleko, attempt of the season. Fife thought it wasn't in, Edinburgh thought it was, and the goal stood 32 seconds before the first interval. A good move up the ice by the Caps, saw Hartman, the player coach, get his 17th of the season to make it 2-0 to Edinburgh. But the Five Flyers came back into the game and they scored twice in quick succession. First of all, on the power play, Keller and Pitton getting the assists there. The touch in front for Chamont, a 24th of the season, so that made it only a one-goal game. And then a minute and a half later, the Five Flyers came forward once more. They were beginning to get some confidence in the game. Keller and Keister got the assist, and Stewart scores a 7th goal of the season to make it 2-2. There were more goals, though, in period 2, and they were beginning to go the way of Edinburgh. Things were just slowly turning their way. There may have been 9 shots apiece in both the first 2 periods, but Leanweber on the doorstep at the back door made it 3-2 at 35-33. And then on the power play, with the period coming to a close, again it was a good move, and this time on the doorstep, Yarrelin scoring his 27th goal of the season to make it 4-2. And that was the score at the end of the second period. To period 3, and the Five Flyers were just beginning to feel the heat. Portwood, his 8th of the season, that made it 5-2. That coming at 56-26. A flurry of goals as the game was drawing to a close. Edinburgh and Murrayfield were jumping. Power play goal there for Zembergs on the left-hand side at 58-45, and there was still time for one more goal at 59-29 to complete a memorable victory. Zembergs and Nicholson involved here, one way then the other for Haleko, and the 11th goal of the season. Final score, Edinburgh 7, Five Flyers 2.
How hot are the Edinburgh Capitals right now? They've found great form post-Christmas, winning games, especially in their own conference, and scoring goals for fun, aren't they?
Well, they've got some talented players. Offensively, you know, they're getting it done, and you saw a couple of nice goals in them highlights there.
They got good goaltending as well. I think that's been overlooked. Everybody's talked about Riopel in Dundee, nobody more than perhaps myself or Pitton in Fife, but he's been as quality as any of them.
Oh, he gives them a chance to win every night, and that's what you need from your goaltending.
Yeah, the Five Flyers on the road, different team.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Edinburgh. I think Edinburgh's one of the toughest places to go and play because of that ice pad. You've got to totally change your game. totally, especially teams from our conference. You know, you can't play that in your face, fast, physical game because, you know, you get yourself out of position all the time. And, you know, they will capitalise on odd man rushes and make nice plays. Again, another team that has a good power play. You know, they're coming on strong.
Talk Edinburgh, talk goals, talk Yarralin. He always scores. He did again, but it was Aleko who had a couple. Let's take a look at the highlights of his 2 goals. Talk us through these if you can.
Yeah, they're on the power play here. They're working it down low. And, you know, you just throw pucks back to the net when you're hot and things happen. Good things happen.
Second goal coming up for him.
Yeah, again, back on the PP. And that's a nice move. Nice and patient.
That's a good finish in any league, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
There was another game in the Gardner Conference that took place on Tuesday evening, again up in Fife, taking on the Dundee Stars. Well, we'll have a look at that in a moment. But what's impressive about this Fife Flyers victory is that Blair Daly again backstopped the Flyers to victory without Pitton in goal. And it's great that Fife have got a goalie they can throw in and win games for them.
Well, we heard about him, didn't we? We heard about Blair when they came into the league, and they were looking originally of going with him as their starter. And he's obviously a netminder that, you know, is going to catch Tony Hand's eye. You know, he's a Scottish kid, and he's playing, he's winning games for them, and you know, full credit to him.
Let's just take a look at all the game details then from that game between the Flyers and the Dundee Stars. You'll see it coming up on your screen now. Bobby Chamont again. Wow, do Braehead Clan ever regret letting him go? Chris Hogg, and he is Chris Hogg this week, you'll be pleased to know. Casey Haynes, we always talk about him. 5 goals to 3, just under 1,000 in attendance up there in Kirkcaldy. And the more we see of this conference, the more we see of these inter-conference games, the tighter it's become. Has it surprised you that actually it has become as tight as it is with just 2 points separating the lot? Because if we all had our hands on our hearts, we all expected Braehead just to run away with it. But give credit to the other teams. They've won games, which was the whole point of the conference. It's given them confidence, and then it's just taken on a life on its own.
I've said this to you before. I see it as 2 different things. I think the parity from top to bottom in money is a lot tighter in that conference. And that's why I think the results are a lot tighter. You know, I think clubs have improved. Dundee have improved. Edinburgh have improved. Fife know what it's about now and have improved. And obviously you've got Braehead, who we all thought were going to run away with it, and Hull, who know what it's about and had a great finish. I think a 6th place finish in the league last year or whatever it was. So I think it's worked totally how it should do in that conference. And as being as tight as it is, the fans up there will be on tenterhooks, as well as the players and the coaches all the way in.
It's a fantastic division, fantastic division. Well, you've seen all the hits, all the action and all the goals, a couple of scraps as well from around the league. Let's take a look then at a run through of the scores starting on Saturday, the 9th of February. The Braehead Clan 1, the Edinburgh Capitals 4, the Hull Stingrays 5, the Dundee Stars 1, and the Fife Flyers with a penalty shot shootout win 5-4 over the Cardiff Devils. Sunday, the 10th of February, Dundee 8, yes 8, the Hull Stingrays 7 after overtime. What a thriller that was. The Caps 7-2 over the Fife Flyers. Coventry 2-0 over the Braehead Clan. And Tuesday's game, a 5-3 victory for the Flyers over the Dundee Stars. So let's see how that shows out the conferences. Not a lot of change, of course, in the Erdard Conference. Let's forget the Erdard for a second. It's all about the Gardner. Dundee, Braehead, Fife, Edinburgh and Hull. 29, 28, 28, 27, 27. Any one of those 5 could win the Gardner Conference. Let's just flip it all into the mix a moment and show you the league standings. Now here's something that's important to you. Think playoffs and think the season ending today. Normally that would mean Nottingham seed 1 take on Edinburgh seed 8, Belfast seed 2 take on Dundee, Sheffield would take on Fife and Cardiff would take on Coventry. Just hold that thought for a moment, because that isn't how it happens this year. Nottingham, if they were to go on and win the league, would be 1, and yes, they would face the Edinburgh Capitals, seed 8, but the winners of the second conference, and that at the moment is the Dundee Stars, they would take on the 2nd seed. So they would play team 7, 5, Belfast would then play Coventry, and Sheffield would play Cardiff. And I have to tell you, What an exciting playoff series that would be. And I would think if you were from Cardiff or Coventry, Sheffield or Belfast, you'd be thinking, how the hell did we vote for that system at the start of the year? Because they certainly have a tougher playoff series than they would expect.
I didn't vote for that system.
Yeah.
But it's a system that's been brought in, and we've got to go with that. We have to understand that. As well explained, by the way, because that's quite confusing. But I think it really does open things up, doesn't it? It really does open things up for, a Gardner Conference team to make it all the way, especially if they're playing another team out of their own conference. And that was the whole idea. The league wanted to incorporate.
What an incentive as well for those teams. Dundee know they have a great chance if they can just carry on and win that conference.
Well, and Dundee have games in hand over the other teams in the conference. I think they've only played 23. So they're in a pretty strong position. But the key is, David, is who they've got to finish with. Who are the teams with the most crossover conference games left? And I think the teams that have the least crossover games left are going to be in a pretty good position going forward.
So, fixtures ahead. Let's take a look at them. And very interestingly, there's only one Gardner Conference game this weekend. And it's actually the game that we start off with, the Edinburgh Capitals taking on the Dundee Stars at Murrayfield at 6 o'clock. Belfast host the Coventry Blaze at 7. Nottingham against the Braehead Clan. And the Sheffield Steelers taking on the Fife Flyers. Hull, of course, entertain the Cardiff Devils. Then on Sunday, the 17th, we see the Panthers taking on the Flyers, the Steelers, the Stingrays, the Blaze taking on the Edinburgh Capitals. 5:15 at the Skydome Arena, and at the Big Blue Tent, the Cardiff Devils taking on the Dundee Stars. You'll be able to see all the action next week on our Sky Sports show. Friday, the 22nd of February, Sky Sports 3 at 6 p.m. Wow, it's coming to this, we talk business end of the year, and there's so many things to talk about, isn't there? There's the league championship, there's the playoffs, there's the conference winners. It's everything we would have hoped for in a season.
And the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, still to go.
Yeah, absolutely. There's three trophies to win, and it's going to be a crucial last few weeks to see where we all end up. And we all want to finish, David. We all want to finish with a little bit of momentum and some wins under our belts, because you take that off into the playoffs, hopefully. So. Big times ahead of us. Big times ahead of us indeed. Folks, taking a game. It's better live than it is on the telly, and it's good on the telly. We'll see you next week.
Sponsors of the Elite Ice Hockey League on Sky Sports.